What's up, everybody? Welcome to SwampGasPod, where we discuss everything that is weird and doesn't pass the sniff test.
That's right.
What's up,
That's
Bruce?
right. Thank you for tuning back in with us. We have a very special guest. Don, why don't you introduce our special guest today?
Everybody say hello to Tom. He's our resident skeptic around here. The guy who doesn't believe in any of my bullshit, and none of Bruce's either.
Well, let's be honest. Very, very, very few people believe yours, and even fewer believe in mine.
I suppose you're right.
Don't take it
So what's up,
don't
Tom?
believe anybody's bullshit.
Tom's not one for BS, that's for sure. So talk to me, Tom. What's your story? Where do you come from? How do I know you? How do you know me?
Yeah, tell us about yourself, man.
Tell us, now. No, I met you. You were my boss, Don.
Yeah,
Bruce
I
I've
guess
known
that's
for fucking ever, it seems like.
That's true.
The good old OG days.
That's true.
It's been a hot minute. Yeah, we worked together. Hell, all three of us worked the nightclub together.
That's
so
true.
Yeah.
It was a meeting of the minds of former employees.
It's true. That's true.
Good time.
So
what about when it comes to everything that this podcast is about, man? All manner of high strangeness, aliens, Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, portals to other realms. Where are you at, man?
I've just never believed in any of that kind of stuff. I mean, it's never really been a thing of mine.
So it's just something that everyone has just made up. It's just all bad dreams or folklore.
But I'm also the type of person that needs like physical proof of something.
I respect that. No, I respect that. Absolutely.
Well, we're going to try to lay out some proof today, or at least compelling evidence. I hope so. And come the end of it, we'll get your opinion, and we'll see if we manage to convince you or not, I guess.
Absolutely.
So, Bruce, what are we talking about this week?
So we were going to be talking about the dogfight, the Gorman dogfight. I did a little bit of research on it, but I really, really want you to lead the way on this one. It's a really interesting case. Apparently, like one of our U.S. fighter jet pilots actually engaged in a dogfight in a actual battle with a UFO. They exchanged fire, and it's been talked about. It's been recorded and reported on. So, nothing beats the source and nothing beats the reports.
I don't know that they actually exchanged any fire, but we'll get into that.
I don't know. I don't know. I thought they did.
Maybe you came across some stuff that I didn't, but either way, we'll get into it and we'll find out.
Definitely.
All right, so it wasn't exactly a jet fighter because this was in 1948, right?
Okay.
So this is the year after World War II officially ended and a year into the Cold War, right? So we're talking the earliest days of the Cold War.
You're talking like Cessnas.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah. Like I was saying before,
well,
I definitely need you to lead this conversation then.
So
I know enough to respond.
Yeah. Tom's right when he goes with Cessnas. I almost wanted to say biplanes, but no, that's a little too early. We were past biplanes at this point. Specifically, this pilot was flying a P-51 Mustang, which anybody who's familiar with World War II movies should know what that is. Or ever played a video game should know what the P-51 Mustang was. At this time, 1948 was essentially the most advanced fighter plane we'd ever come up with. It was faster and more capable, more maneuverable than anything else we'd ever put up in the skies.
Well, it sounds like a fighter jet to me. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't think I was wrong for calling it a fighter jet. I'm going to stand by fighter jet.
Well, specifically because it wasn't a jet. It's still a problem.
Well, I mean, we're just splitting hairs at this point.
I suppose. But
I'm telling you, you can't split hairs with a bald guy.
If we're going to analyze a case here, let's actually analyze it.
Say fighter plane.
It is a fighter plane.
Plane, not a jet. As I push my glasses up.
This is right at the cutoff, this time period, right before jets became a thing. The Germans had invented the jet engine and utilized them at the ass end of World War II, but we hadn't figured them out yet. The Germans were ahead of us in that department.
So wait, how far after this was? Just give me a little history lesson. How far after World War II was this incident?
So this is 2 years after World War II ended.
And how many Nazis
and 1 year
did we get
into the
after World War II? Operation, I think it was Operation Paperclip or whatever.
Oh, that was immediately at the end of World War. Yeah, so Operation Paperclip had been going on for 2 years at this point.
So we would have.
All the
if they had jets at the end of World War II, wouldn't we have
at this
jets?
point we were starting to develop our own jets. Yes.
I'm sorry.
Because trust me, we jumped on that technology real quick.
Of course we did.
Yeah.
That's when we went to space.
That wouldn't be for another 21 years. Well,
it was with them. I'm saying it's with their technology is what I mean.
We didn't get to the moon for another 21 years, I should say. Anyway, we digress. Let's get into the story.
Yes, please.
So, all right, it's October 1st, 1948, right? Again, 2 years after World War II, right at the cutting edge of the Cold War, right? So there's this fighter pilot. His name is George Gorman, right? He's a combat veteran of World War II, flew plenty of missions during World War II. He was a flight instructor for the French Air Force, for the Allies, right? So he was training pilots during World War II. He went on his own bombing runs and all this. This is a guy who knows what he's doing in an airplane, right? All right. So, George Gorman, he was a guy who knew what he was doing in an airplane, right? Plenty of combat hours, flight instructor. This guy knows what he's doing. After the war, he goes into the National Guard, and he's a pilot there. And he was with the Minnesota National Guard at the time this happened. So it's October 1st. He and his unit are at the end of a cross-country flight, right? They're flying their flight of P-51 Mustangs into Fargo, North Dakota. All the other pilots in the flight were making their landing down into the field, and he decides he's going to stay up for a little bit and log some night flying hours because this is around 8, 9 o'clock at night. So all the other pilots are landing. He stays up there, and once he's done, this is around 9 now. Once he's done with his little bit of night flying, he radios the tower and says, "All right, I'm ready to make my landing." Tower calls him back. "All right, yeah, all good. Sky's clear except for one other civilian aircraft, a little Piper Pup, almost like a Cessna, right? That's in the area." And Gorman, the pilot, can see that Piper Pup 500 feet below him. Sees it. It's ready. Yep. Acknowledge. Got him. And they said, "All right, you're good. Clear for landing." And as he's coming in, he sees off to the west this bright light in the sky. And he calls back to the tower. "You see what this thing is?" "Nope, no idea." But that civilian airplane that's also flying around says, "Yep, we see it. It's out there to the west." Gorman radios into the tower and says, "I'm going to go check it out real quick." So that's exactly what he does. He throttles up. Max speed on a P-51 is about 400 miles an hour, right?
Okay.
He's cranking out 400 miles an hour, trying to get to this light in the sky, and it's too fast. He can't catch up. Again, this is the fastest, most advanced fighter plane we have.
Okay. You won't say jet. I'm one of these. I'm going to get you to say jet.
You probably will at this point. I do have some pictures for us, actually, now that I have one of them right now. And I should have got one of a P-51 Mustang, apparently. Let's see. Nope. There we go. Here we are. Here is the newspaper article from 1948, 2 days after the incident. There's Lieutenant Gorman right there, talking all about it.
Okay. How many people were there to confirm this story?
So the witnesses are Gorman himself, right?
Yeah, of course.
The pilot and passenger in the other plane, and the 2 people in the radio tower.
Okay.
So it's 5 people. All saw it.
I could have sworn that they said that he got into like a dogfight with this thing.
Mm-hmm. Haven't even gotten there yet.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Like I said, he plugs that P-51 Mustang full throttle going after this light.
He absolutely engages with the thing.
Mm-hmm. But it's too fast. He can't catch up to it. This thing is basically just circling around the city at the time. That's what he sees it doing as he's approaching.
Okay.
As he's coming up, it's faster than he is. So as he comes around, as the thing's making its turn, circling around the city, he tries cutting the corner, right, to close his distance.
Okay.
So he can get a closer look. And in doing so, they end up coming head-to-head. And it zooms right over the top of him.
Wow.
And that's where he gets his good look at it.
Okay.
But it was so close, he actually dove the plane, thinking that they were going to smash, right? Let's see. I can see exactly what it says here. When the light started climbing a left turn, Gorman attempted to cut the corner, but the light broke a sharp right, went head-to-head with Gorman's Mustang. So the pilot dove away to avoid what looked like an imminent collision. He looked over his shoulder, saw the light making another turn, arching around for another head-on pass. But instead of Gorman having to break away this time, the light shot straight up and disappeared.
Okay.
Now Gorman gives chase. It went straight up, so he's go up and chase after it. He gets to around 14,000 feet, and his plane starts to stall. Can't do it. So, obviously, coming back down, never saw the light again. Gone. Disappeared. Like I said, as far as I know, he never shot at it. It didn't shoot at him, but he chased this thing.
Interesting.
The way they have it laid out here, it sounds like it lasted, 2 minutes, right? It zipped over his head, they went again, and it shot up. He chased this thing around for 27 minutes.
Wow.
Damn near a half an hour, he was chasing this thing over the sky of Fargo, North Dakota. North Dakota.
I mean, what was he going to do if he catches it? He doesn't have I don't know. If you're not going to shoot at it, why are you chasing it?
Well, he probably doesn't. His Mustang probably isn't armed in the first place, honestly.
Really?
He's just on a cross-country. He's probably bringing that flight of planes from the manufacturing plant or whatever.
Yeah, if there's any, fighter pilot or, warplane experts that are listening, they're screaming at the radio right now at our stupidity.
Maybe. I'd imagine
or at least
he wasn't
mine.
even armed at the time.
That's fine.
Say, if somebody knows better, please let me know.
Oh, I'm sure they will.
Yeah, light me up. Give me all the hate in the world.
I have no doubt.
Anyway, where was I?
That's wild, though. So That's wild. So what happened after that? How did they explain that one?
Well, before we even get to how they explained it, when the thing passed right over the canopy of his plane, right, you got a good look at it. So what did this thing look like? Did you get any of that information? Because this is what makes this super interesting.
Go ahead.
At least in my opinion.
Go ahead.
This is probably one of the smallest UFOs we've ever heard of.
Okay.
This thing was 6 to 8 inches in diameter.
Okay.
This big.
So essentially, like a little
tiny.
laser pen, like a laser pointer version of a UFO.
But it was the whole thing was lit up. It was a super bright light. That's it.
And that's wild, dude. I don't know. That's pretty wild.
But it's flying around faster than him. He can't catch up to it. It can obviously fly higher.
Here, let me ask you a question. When you think this thing is 6 to 8 inches in diameter, does it not make you stop thinking that UFOs are all spaceships?
I never did think they were all spaceships.
I know. I don't mean you as you. I just mean in general. I think that the public, everyone, when we think UFOs, I think that the overwhelming majority of people would agree. You think of spaceships, flying discs, saucers. You think of that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But if something is that small, and it's just just a thing of light, Don, does that not? We're not going to get into my whole entire thing. You guys can find that argument on Patreon. But does that not give a little bit more credibility to my argument?
To your grand unified theory? No,
yes.
I don't think so.
I
don't think that applies at all.
Oh, my goodness.
We'll get into that later.
You're looking an elephant in the face and calling it a dinosaur. I'm telling you right now, that's what you're doing.
No. All right, here's the thing. Our audience has no idea what they're talking about yet because none of that's even been released. But it will be.
Oh, it will be.
It will be. But no, I don't think that applies at all here. I don't know what does because I don't know what this thing is. I certainly don't think it's that, though.
See? I think that it points, in my opinion,
way to go, though.
I think it points more to that than a spaceship or a flying saucer.
I'm not saying it is a spaceship.
What do you think it is?
Well, why don't we find out what the government thought it was?
No. Before we find out what the government thinks, I want to know what you think. With that information, if you were given that information, what would you think it is?
Well, I know what I would call it, but that doesn't mean that I know what those are either.
All right, Tom, I want you to chime in on this, buddy. As a skeptic, if you're hearing this for the first time, am I right or wrong? Is this the first time you heard this story?
Right.
Okay. You hear that there's this 6 to 8 beam, inch long beam of light, and it's zipping around the skies, doing whatever, and there's somebody chasing it. What do you think he's chasing? Is he chasing his imagination and everyone else is playing along? What's your explanation?
It almost sounds like when a cat chases around like a laser pointer.
Yeah, right. No, I agree with you. Like the aliens are messing with us with like a laser pen.
Yeah.
So it's almost like they're toying with him?
Yeah,
Something to that nature, because I don't...
No, I'm not going to lie to you, Tom. That sounds like that sounds... that doesn't sound...
Yeah, but even a laser pointer has somebody, controlling the laser. What was controlling this 6 to 8 inch little disc flying around in the air? Outmaneuvering him in such a way.
Well,
you could never catch a laser pointer.
I mean, you also got to take a look at what else is out there, technology-wise.
1948. Tell me. What else is out there technology-wise? 1948.
No idea.
Neither do I.
Yeah. I think they had a convertible. They had the jukebox.
Right.
Milkshakes and jukeboxes. So could it have possibly been coming from the ground?
Dude, that was the time to be abducting people. To be like an alien abducting people. Nobody could have explained what they saw in the sky. They could have no reference to compare it to anything.
I didn't actually pull any of this material up to actually look at, but I did read about how there was a football game going on that night. It was a college game, I think. And because there was a news article the week before talking about how people at the game are get ready for a big show in the sky. Now, what it was referring to was, a passing game in the football game, right? Lots of passing. This is an aerial game, and it turns out there was a UFO dogfight in the sky that night. But as far as lights on the ground beyond the football game, no. I didn't see anywhere where there was any reports of spotlights in the sky or any of that.
Yeah, but not everything gets reported.
Sure, obviously, and it's 1948. I'm sure shit wasn't there.
No.
But he did say he chased this thing. It was faster than him. It flew right over his canopy. He got a look at it. And again, this is a pilot. He's a flight instructor. He's been on multiple bombing runs. He's had flak shot at him, right?
Yeah, but you're also talking about, he said it was nothing but a big bright light. So how does it really
That's what it looked like. It was a 6 to 8 inch glowing disc. That's how it was described.
No, you're just talking. No, it sounds like you're talking about a frisbee.
Think of a glow in the dark frisbee, except it was super fucking bright enough for him to see it from miles away when he was trying to land the first time.
I don't know. Sounds like a spotlight to me.
It does not sound like a spotlight to me at all. Not even the U.S. government came up with a spotlight conclusion.
I'm really curious to hear what they had to say. Was it swamp gas again?
Nope. This one they went with the old weather balloon trick. They went with the old weather balloon trick on this one.
If it isn't swamp gas, it's weather balloons, kids.
So after Gorman landed, he gave his report to his commander. They sent out Air Force Intelligence, who took his report, and in his reports, Gorman specifically said it seemed like there was thought behind his maneuvers.
Well, sure, if it's outmaneuvering him, sure.
Like it is, there are intentional maneuvers in what it's doing. He also said that he did not believe any human could withstand the G-forces that it was enduring in its maneuvers. Like, he himself,
you don't say.
It shot up and he chased after it. He actually passed out making that turn from the G-forces. And, I mean, he regained consciousness in a stall. But, we're talking about...
I mean, honestly, though,
there's no way that he could have done what this thing was doing.
Buddy, that's like exactly what I was saying, though.
If you say so. Anyway, so 1948, Project Sign was going on. They picked up this case. It was also investigated again in Project Blue Book, right? Okay. So these are the Air Force programs investigating UFO reports. Their ultimate conclusion was that he was chasing a weather balloon.
Yeah, no, sure, of course.
There are absolutely reports that a Navy weather balloon was launched 10 minutes prior to this.
Dude, it's outrageous how many times we've heard like the same song and dance, the same nonsense stories, and we're just forced to keep believing the same nonsense.
Gorman estimated that this thing was flying at 600 miles an hour.
Yeah.
It's a mighty fast.
Gorman, a World War II combat veteran, would have been pretty familiar with balloons.
Sure.
They were a big thing in World War II.
For sure.
He's going to get confused by a balloon. He's going to confuse a balloon with an object that's traveling 600 miles an hour. I've never seen a balloon travel 600 miles an hour.
No.
Yeah, that's an outrageous story. And anyone listening, with half a brain knows that that's not what happened. So, curious, comment, let us know. What do you think it is based off of the description? If you were given the description that we three idiots just gave you, what would you think? What would you think that it is? Because honestly, I couldn't give you a good answer other than, my long, deep rabbit hole theory.
Right. Which, we'll get into later.
No, we can do a whole series on that. But I'm just saying that we don't have to hop into that right now. Absolutely.
Right.
I'm just saying, in my opinion, it.
So, do you think it was a spotlight?
No.
Like Tom does?
No, I don't think it was a spotlight. No. I think, and I'm just going to say this, okay? I'm going to say that it is probably an entity. That's all I'm going to say. It is more than likely, it was more than likely an entity.
But it was not an alien spacecraft, is what you're saying.
I don't believe that it was. Now, believe it or not, I know I'm getting old, but I do not believe that I was not there. So I do not believe that was an alien spaceship. But based off of the description, absolutely not. Especially based off of the size, the fact that it was all light, no. I believe that it's more than likely what inhabits what people perceive as UFOs.
I love how you're dancing around it so much.
I got my tap dancing shoes on, buddy.
Yeah, you tap dancing all over.
But no, but I'm just saying, I believe I believe that it was an entity that was messing with him. That's my honest opinion.
That I can agree with.
It can outmaneuver him. It went straight up to him, almost. It was able to withstand all of this. That's an entity. That's not something that's not a human. It's not a little green man from Mars surviving off of Martian pellets on the way down. It's not. That's not the case.
Well, there's all kinds of UFO reports of supposedly alien spacecraft, right, doing all kinds of crazy stuff.
Sure.
Or experimental military aircraft. Let's not discount that.
Absolutely.
No,
there's a lot of things that come when it comes to that. That
some people think it was something. Some people think it was something that the Soviet Union developed right there in the early days of the Cold War.
Well, but you also got to take.
I don't think it was any of that. Though.
You also got to take into account that the Cold War was going on at that time. So, were they
It just started, really.
They putting this out there to distract everybody from other bigger issues?
I feel like they've been distracting people from issues since the beginning, man.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
True.
You're not wrong for saying that.
Could this be?
Can't argue with that.
Just
you're not wrong
to, distract people for a minute.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Does still leave the question though of what was it, Tom?
Yeah.
It was something to distract them. What was it that was distracting them? What was
he
this
thinks
thing?
it's a spotlight, but if it was a spotlight,
the Soviet Union launched to distract us. What was this thing that they launched to distract us?
And who? That's the biggest question. Who was operating the spotlight? What was operating the spotlight?
If it's related to the Cold War, then that'd be the Soviet Union.
But is that the theory?
Well, that's what Tom was just saying.
Okay.
But I think Tom still thinks it was a spotlight either way.
I do.
Was that where you're still at, Tom?
That's where I'm at.
Spotlight. All right. There's one other thing that I did come up with in my research that fits this to a T. That's its own mystery. Right? I'm not going to give you a clear-cut answer that you're going to like. This thing is a Foo Fighter. You ever heard of the Foo Fighters?
I've heard of the Foo Fighters.
Not talking about the band, asshole.
Well, then no, I haven't.
Oh, Foo Fighters. Bruce, you know anything about Foo Fighters?
I've heard it described. I don't remember too much about it, but I've heard it described. I think it was like
They're kind of like
it was like an aerial threat of some kind that they couldn't identify.
Foo Fighters were essentially UFOs before UFOs got the name UFO.
Yeah.
Back during World War II, so just a couple years prior to this incident, there was a lot of reports from World War II pilots about these things that ended up calling Foo Fighters. The name comes from an old 1930s comic strip of a firefighter, right? It's like
it was kind of interesting because don't they have something similar to that on one of their album covers?
On their what?
The Foo Fighters. They actually have on one of their album covers. Now that you're talking about it, they actually have.
Oh, probably. I mean, they chose that name intentionally. Like I don't remember if it was their lead singer, or the guitarist, or whoever was a real UFO buff, and that's how they got the name Foo Fighters. They took
Talking
it
about
from
Dave Grohl.
That pilots were seeing.
You don't know Dave Grohl?
Yeah, that guy. No,
that guy.
Because I don't know anything about
Dude, the drummer of Nirvana, Dave Grohl.
Cool, bro.
Cool story, bro.
You don't disrespect the Grohl, bro.
Anyway, that's where the Foo Fighters got the name for their band. These things that the pilots were seeing in World War II.
I think it's a little delusional from.
Well, I'll get there. At the time, the pilots were calling anything weird that they saw in the sky, they were calling them Foo Fighters, just because it was a popular thing that caught on. But generally, they were always described as small glowing orbs of light, right? Sometimes they'd show up solo, sometimes in pairs, sometimes as many as 10 of them flying in formation together. They would, they'd basically pace them. So they're flying along, and all of a sudden, zoop, it just comes along flying with them for miles and miles and miles for, 20 minutes at a time. Here they are. Or they'll zip ahead of them. And they'll stay behind them. Like, they're all over. They're zipping around all over the place. They don't know what they are, where they're coming from, what they're doing. Just a random ball of light. They were described as red. They could be red, orange, white, usually fiery, right?
Don.
Not just like a glowing ball.
It's as if I wrote you a script to prove my point.
Yeah, I'm still not with you there.
How are you reading Shakespeare?
Fire,
What's that?
There's lots of things that look like fire, like a fire.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, I'm. That's fair.
Not everything has to do with your unified theory.
Fireballs that maneuver around.
Say they would fly alongside them. They'd keep pace. Wild, seemingly impossible turns at impossible speeds that nobody could figure out. Like, they were common enough that they got the name Foo Fighters. Foo Fighters is in official documents, communications back and forth with the Pentagon and shit. They also seem to vanish and reappear. Just reappear somewhere else. But there was never any reported hostility or any threatening maneuvers in any way. No plane was ever damaged. No pilot was ever injured. They just followed them around. So, like, some theories that came out was that, okay, these are like German super weapons that they're sending up after us. Well, that doesn't hold water because they didn't do anything. Maybe it was there to
spy,
report. Just intelligence gathering. There's planes coming through. except they never got any increased anti-aircraft fire or anything. So
spying.
That's got out the window.
No, but they could have been spying.
Right, that's what I'm saying. They could have been intelligence gathering.
Yeah.
Except they never seem to do anything with that information.
That we're aware
If you know that the bombers are coming, you crank up your aircraft guns, right? They never did. So they obviously weren't spying. They obviously weren't there to bring the planes down. We always thought that they were German superweapons or even Japanese superweapons. We saw these in the Pacific too. It wasn't until after the war we figured out the Germans were seeing them, the Russians were seeing them, the Japanese were seeing them, and everybody just thought that they were everybody else's shit. Nobody knew what they were.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that goes hand in hand. I can't not say that those were entities.
Well, after the war, it was a lot of them were investigated by the Robertson panel, and they gave a handful of explanations. Mainly, they tried to explain it away as combat stress, sleep deprivation, vertigo.
Yeah, weather balloons, swamp gas.
Yeah, combat-hardened pilots.
He was up all night watching Seinfeld and eating popcorn. That's what happens. You can't mix Seinfeld and popcorn.
Now, there is this thing called St. Elmo's Fire. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
I mean, I don't think I've heard of it in the context that you're going to say that it's in.
Yeah, this isn't a donkey show, man.
No, it was a movie from the 80s. Pretty sure it was like a John Hughes movie.
All right, this right here is St. Elmo's Fire. You see on this ship, in this old painting, there's lots of old paintings like this that show this. You see these things coming off the mast here?
Yeah.
These bright lights?
Yeah.
This is St. Elmo's Fire. It's a static discharge that comes off of anything like a mast, or on planes it'll come off the wingtips. On helicopters it'll come off the rotors. I actually have a picture of that here too.
Okay.
This is a static discharge that comes off of, in the right environmental conditions, like it's got to be dry. You see it a lot in thunderstorms.
Yeah, okay, that's cool and all, but does it maneuver? Like, is it? There's no way that thing maneuvers around.
Exactly my point.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
No.
like that thing looks. No. Sure. Yeah, I mean, we could just, we could.
There's some really cool glowing lights that sometimes occur on the wings of planes.
Right.
That's cool.
That's not what that is, though.
Fly in circles around the city before the plane gets there. They don't shoot up 1,400 feet and beyond and disappear.
But
absolutely.
If this light was so bright, why did nobody from the ground see it?
They did. The guys in the control tower saw it.
Well, but you're talking about over a city. Why there's not, like...
Well, there may have been, but again, this is 1948. There's nobody I can go back and interview, right? There was
but if they wanted to try and
two or three little blurbs in the newspaper, in the local newspaper, and that was it. Trust me, this was a pretty hard case to investigate because there's not a whole lot of information out there.
No,
this isn't like the Roswell crash where you've got 800 different reports and statements from tons and tons of people.
Yeah, I don't really. The whole Roswell thing kind of puzzles me still to this day.
Yeah, I mean, that's its own case that I'm sure we're going to dive into one day.
Yeah.
But St. Elmo's Fire was, generally speaking, the bolt. Either the pilots imagined it because of combat stress or vertigo or what have you, or St. Elmo's Fire. The two real explanations that they came up with. Yeah. For Foo Fighters. Again, what they gave to, they said that Gorman saw, in this case, they said that he was chasing after a weather balloon. So they didn't even blame St. Elmo's Fire. But I think that what Gorman saw that day was the same type of Foo Fighter that had been seen over the last 6-8 years or so during World War II. What is a Foo Fighter? Good fucking question.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, we lost Bruce.
Oh, he'll be back. I ain't worried about it. What's your thoughts, Tom? What was that thing?
I'm sticking with my original stuff. I still think that it was a spotlight of some sort.
You're still sticking with the spotlight.
Yeah.
How do you explain it coming straight back at him and then shooting straight into the sky as he chases it up to 14,000 feet and it disappears?
Well, but that's the thing is if you've ever been up in a plane and seen a spotlight, if it's coming towards you and then they immediately bring it right back, it's going to look like it shot up in the sky.
Well, this was reportedly a clear night, so there wasn't, hence him logging extra night flying hours, right? So if there aren't clouds in the sky, there's not much point in using a spotlight. Like if you're, outside the mall or a used car lot or whatever you're doing. Tom's still sticking with his spotlight theory.
But here's what I was going to say. What pokes a hole in that theory is that if it's happening all over the world, essentially, who's the enemy that's doing it? Because your theory was like the Cold War theory, whatever. It was the Russians, it was the whoever's. But if it's happening over Russia, either they're doing it to themselves to kind of, play.
But this didn't happen, just because...
The Foo Fighters were seen everywhere.
And I get that. But at the same time, just because I'm explaining it as I think this is what this might have been doesn't mean that's what everything else was.
But if it's... in this case... I would say that it's very likely that these are the same things. That's my opinion. You're not wrong in saying that, but in my opinion, with them being so closely related in look and ability and time frame, that's my theory.
Well, but I'm also basing it off the fact that, because I've heard about the whole Foo Fighter thing and the bright lights when the planes are flying and stuff like that. In some of those instances, they were below them. You can't really say that that's a spotlight if it's below them. You're talking about eye level or above.
But we're still around the question of who's operating the spotlight.
What Tom is talking about is an actual guy on the ground pointing a spotlight from a used car lot or the
it doesn't
mall.
necessarily have to be anybody specific.
I don't know.
Not everybody.
I definitely don't think that they had spotlights that had the capability of going that far in the 50s or 40s.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, I would. We in 2020 something. We just now got the flashlights that people can shine, into space or not space, but like super far into the sky and across the.
But you're talking about two separate things. A spotlight that's going to shine up like that is not handheld.
But my point is, they didn't have the I thank you. I appreciate that. What's the difference between a bus and a motorcycle? I'm just confused. No, but but my point is, they didn't have the technology to make it shine that brightly and that densely. I would say
that would be something that you would have to look up to see if it was a thing back then.
Anyway, Tom thinks it's a spotlight. I think it's Foo Fighters. Bruce thinks it's all demons. So.
Oh, you said it. I was dancing around it.
Well, I mean, we're late enough into the show that we can tease it a little bit.
What are we talking? Like Satan?
We'll get into that later, Tom.
Well, I mean, that's a big thing to unpack. Do I think that it was zipping around there? No, I don't.
This is a little crony.
If anybody in the audience wants to know what the hell we're talking about, once we're done here, we're going to slide on over to Patreon where you can listen to Bruce's grand unified theory on how none of this stuff exists in the first place. And it's all its own thing, which I'm still trying to wrap my head around.
Hey, you can hear the spiritual side of things.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
Why do you got to put up Mac?
Anyway, let's dive into some let's dive into some news real quick before we wrap this up and head out of here. Last week we had talked about how the feds were shipping all that toxic waste from that crash site in Ohio into Michigan.
Yeah.
Well, literally the very next day I came across this article. Feds stopped shipments of toxic waste to Michigan from Ohio train derailment.
Yep.
Yeah. So I guess
clear. This is after there was a healthy amount that was already dumped off.
Sure.
Yeah,
I'd be curious to know exactly how much.
You know, like Governor Whitmer was standing there, on I-96, turn it around, guys. That didn't happen,
Right. Yeah, it says here the EPA made the decision following the outcry from local, state, and federal officials. So that means we had a part to play in that, Bruce. We were part of the public outcry. We stopped it. You and me, buddy.
I mean, I was crying in public a lot, so, if that helps, I'm happy to help,
They were dumping it in that, what'd they call it? An injection well?
Yeah, an injection well. I still...
That sounds...
That's the problem here. What does that mean? Where does it go? Can I still swim at, can I swim at the park? Can I,
Yeah, right.
What does that mean? We don't know. Is it stuck in a landfill somewhere? Next to a neighborhood? Who knows?
That's just ridiculous.
I agree.
None of
Let me
that
ask you a
sounds
question.
smart.
I know that none of us are experts, and I couldn't give you a better answer than I'm asking you to give me. Let me preface by saying this, okay? But if you were in charge, how would you have disposed of that accident? I'm just curious. Like I said, I don't have a better solution, and my answer wouldn't be any superior to whatever you're going to say.
Well, I wouldn't have started off with burning it.
Yeah.
Well, let's go with that. I know they were saying that it was already it was already in danger of exploding already. Like that's why they burned it, because it might explode.
Sure.
I don't know that burning it off is any better than letting it explode, but
absolutely.
I don't know what the better way is, because I'm not the guy in charge of that department, but I feel like there was a better way.
Sure.
Sometimes you're just dealt a shit hand of cards and there is no better way.
Yeah.
I feel like there was something better than setting it all on fire, though.
I don't disagree with you. I feel like it's got more long-term ramifications than what we're thought of. But at the same time, I don't have a better solution. I don't know. Nobody could touch it. It's not like you could just have them shovel it back in. It doesn't work that way. So I don't.
Yep. Absolutely, man.
I don't know.
Do they ever say what specifically it was?
The what now?
Did they ever say specifically what it was, or they just label it toxic waste?
What they were shipping here?
Yeah.
That I don't know. What was in the train was vinyl chloride. And when they burned it, it goes through whatever chemical reaction it goes through and produces dioxins that are, highly toxic and just nasty. So I'm not a chemist, I'm not a biologist.
They basically just shot it into the earth and said, there you go.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is that they were collecting from the area and shipping to Michigan for us to dump in the ground.
Yeah.
Because, it almost sounds like, if they're dumping it into an injection well, it almost sounds like the natural process which takes place down in Florida in the Everglades. The Everglades actually, because Lake Okeechobee itself is polluted by the sugarcane factories, so a lot of that gets filtered out through the Everglades. It's like the natural.
Just by going through the groundwater and the ground itself.
Yeah, that's like the natural process down there and how that, gets taken care of. But it's a lot of the reason why the Everglades are dying and stuff like that. So they've been trying to figure out other things for it. But so it kind of sounds like maybe that was their working theory.
The only thing that I could think of Michigan-wise would be the salt mines.
Yeah.
There's so many salt mines on giant open caverns that have been, long, decades old, abandoned, no longer working.
That's not a bad idea. That right there.
Let's take a salt mine and dump all that toxic, old abandoned salt mine and dump all that toxic waste a mile underground. That may actually not be a bad option.
No, honestly, in a few years we might have Ninja Turtles, we might have Godzilla. You never know. I like it.
Yeah, I found another article about this guy this guy who works for this health research agency, talking about how nobody has gone in there and tested for dioxins at all.
What are dioxins?
Like the number one thing that they need to be worried about in East Palestine, nobody's looking for.
What are dioxins?
But see, I'm not a chemist, man. I mean, I can read you some crap from Wikipedia, but I'm not going to be that guy,
It's basically an enzyme, for lack of a better word. But
I would agree with the second part of that sentence.
But,
we're so full of
at the same time, if they were dumping it into a salt mine, that could essentially make it to where
they said they were putting it in an injection well.
Yeah.
They were giving it to a garbage company, Republic Service, and they were putting it in an injection well.
But what is that?
I don't know what they mean by injection well.
Did they ever say where it went to?
In Romulus.
Yeah.
So it's sitting underneath the fucking garbage in Romulus next to people's houses.
I guess, yeah. Right under the airport.
Yep. Perfect.
We're gonna get some extra swamp gas out of that.
I guess so.
Man, blows my mind.
I mean, if you were gonna do something like that, why would you not take it out where there's not people?
Right. I feel like there's a lot. Hell, ship it to China. They'll deal with it.
Who's gonna fly? We need to ship it to what? What is? You say ship it?
They obviously put it in a truck to get it to Michigan.
Yeah.
Drive that truck to the port and put it on a freighter.
Drop it off.
Put it in a shipping container and send it.
Give it to China, he says.
They buy garbage from all over the world.
They'll figure out a way to make a bomb with it or something.
Anyway, moving on.
Hey, they were worried about exploding.
Egypt announces this new discovery in the pyramid, and I kind of giggled when I checked this out because I actually heard about this years ago. But the Egyptologists are now acknowledging it, so it's kind of funny. Basically, they found this big hidden chamber above the Grand Gallery in the Great Pyramid. It's supposed to be like 30 feet long, 7 feet wide, like a whole nother giant corridor that nobody's ever seen before.
Huh. Inside the Great Pyramid?
Yeah. The Great Pyramid, the big one, right?
The one that Alice...
Have you ever seen the...
Ali was in?
Yeah, that one.
Oh.
Same one.
Hang on. The one that he was having a conversation with one of the demons?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I was just
that's the one.
I was making sure we're on the same page. Carry on.
I don't know what that has to do with there being a hidden chamber.
No, nothing to do with there being other demons flying around after that. No. Absolutely not. No. Carry on. Nothing.
Did they come from the chamber?
All at once, like bats. That's what happened. It was like the intro to Scooby-Doo.
I don't remember seeing that in his book.
Such an idiot. You're both idiots. Yeah, I got to ship it to China over here, and they're going to make a bomb out of it over here. You two ought to have your own fucking show.
Anyway, that's cool, isn't it? There's another fucking giant chamber inside the pyramid. Oh, yeah. Don't worry. We go to the bonus hour. We're going to get loose. Don't worry about it. Did you guys hear about this today? Biden ended up having surgery a little while ago.
Oh, no kidding.
And we're just now finding out about it.
Oh, surprised we even found out about it.
This just came out today. He had a lesion removed from his chest. And today we learned that it was cancer.
Well, yeah, when you're old, that happens all the time.
Mm.
I'm sure.
All the time.
Yeah.
Like all the time. You could go and have cancer lesions, whatever, removed every month when you're that old. No,
really?
100%. 100%.
That's great.
No, 100%, dude. And it ends up being like nothing. You know, I'm not going to lie to you, dude.
I mean, to be fair, that's what it sounds like here. Yeah. Obviously, it wasn't a big deal. Yeah. He didn't get 25th Amendment out while he was under.
That's what I'm saying. I'm glad that he pulled through it.
That we would have heard about.
But I mean, yeah, that's what that is. And I mean, he's 100 years old. That's what happens when you're 100 and,
He's 147, dude. Calm down.
He's 147, you said? I believe it.
Yeah. 147 is the new 20. Jeez. All right. Here's my favorite news for the day. We're gonna wrap this up, and I got a picture for you. The president of Mexico posted a photo just the other day. All right, well, this might have been a week or two ago, actually, but it's still getting traction. What he said appeared to be a mythological woodland spirit similar to an elf. The president of Mexico sent up this photo. Where the hell is it? Come on. Y'all see that?
Hang on.
It's like Carlos in a tree. Although I do like the name of the page, Mothership.
You can find this picture anywhere. It's all over the place.
It looks like somebody's just in a tree.
Somebody?
Yeah.
Then why is the president of Mexico calling it an elf?
Because he's a moron? It literally looks like a person that is in a tree. They just have really bright colored hair.
Are you assuming just because he's from Mexico, he's a moron?
No.
I mean, he got to be president somehow.
I
don't know all that much about him.
I mean,
but
look at the
I wouldn't call him an idiot.
He's not doing so hot himself.
So what do you think? What do you think it is? Is it fake? Is it a guy in a tree? Is it CGI? Is it Photoshop?
Oh, I could totally see this being Photoshopped. But
what would the motivation be to Photoshop this? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
What attention would
the president of Mexico
stand to gain anybody?
Right. What does the president of Mexico have to gain from putting this in?
Or tours?
What does he have to gain by releasing this period?
Well, if something crazy happened, if he actually saw this little elf thing running around.
If it's actually a woodland elf, then
he's letting people know that there's another species out there. Other entities. I feel like Dr. Evil over here, like entities.
Yeah, you kind of sound like him, too.
I haven't shaved my head in a couple days where I'd look like him, too.
Bruce, what is this thing?
You know what I'm going to say.
It's a demon, right?
Absolutely.
It's a gremlin.
Without question.
Gremlins?
It's a gremlin.
Is that what we're going to go with, Tom?
No, without question, it's a demon.
No, to be honest with you, I really don't know. Like, because it's on here, you can't really, like, zoom in. Oh, yeah, you can. Oh.
and get a good look at it.
I mean, to be honest with you, it kind of looks.
I'm looking at it pretty close, and I don't see anything obvious that says this is Photoshop, this is CGI.
But
nothing looks weird in the pixels or anything.
But if you look at it, everything except for like the little head portion of it, it almost looks like the trunk of the tree. And then you have
that's possible. This could be, what's that super scientific word for when you see patterns in things? I could have said the word a week ago. Can't right now. Now I'm drawing a blank on it. When your mind sees patterns and it makes an image that really isn't there, it just...
I know what you're talking about. I don't really know what the scientific name for it is either. But...
yeah, possible that is just a part of the tree, and it just happens to kind of look like an elf sitting in it.
Well, I mean, that's no more than, people, somebody toasting a piece of bread and saying that it looks like Jesus.
Same exact thing. Same exact phenomenon I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Your brain creates an image out of a ultimately completely random set of, of an image.
Honestly, I think that's kind of what's going on here. Because when I was actually able to zoom into it, the part that kind of sticks off to the right just looks like part of a tree. It doesn't...
Well, I'll tell you what. Right after we jump off here and before we head on over to Patreon to record a little bit more, take a closer look at this image before we start recording again.
Mm-hmm.
You can really get in there and get a good look at it.
No, I'm telling you exactly
what this
it
thing
is.
I'm looking at it pretty closely here on the computer. I don't see anything obvious that says, yep, I can tell that that's Photoshop.
No, I don't think it's Photoshop.
I never really thought that it was Photoshopped in the beginning, but I was just saying I could see that being Photoshopped.
Sure, yeah. If I see something like that, I'm absolutely looking for Photoshop. Exactly. But I'm no expert by any stretch.
Well,
it's a weird one, man. I don't know.
That it is.
I'm going to go with an elf. It's an elf. That's where I stand.
I don't know. I don't buy it, bro.
No.
I believe. I mean, but you're not wrong in saying that because like what you're saying and what I'm saying are the same thing, just by different name.
I would disagree, but all right.
That's okay.
All good, man.
I still love you. All
right, so everybody out there, smash the like button.
Yeah,
comment,
subscribe, man. Let us know what's going on. Let us know if you hate us. It's okay.
Find us on Twitter, Facebook. You can listen to our show podcast, Castbox, Apple iTunes, wherever the hell you can find a podcast. You can find us. We're there.
And bear with us. We're stumbling, man. We're figuring this thing out.
We're about to hop off of here and slide on over to Patreon to get you guys another hour of content. For the price of a coffee, you can enjoy that and get a dose of Bruce's Grand Unified Theory from last week. We'll finally get that uploaded for you, too. So you get a 2-for-1 this week.
Absolutely.
So, Bruce, anything else?
No, we appreciate you guys, anyone that stuck with us all the way through. If you've been listening with us from the beginning, we appreciate you. And until we talk next time, love each other. Life is short. We love you. And thank you.
Love it, y'all.